All right, so first up on the show is going to be Ted Henderson, a risk advisor and commercial insurance expert with Insource Insurance Agency. So Ted, welcome to the show. Excited to have you here.
Thank you guys for having me. Been very excited for this.
Awesome. So how did you get involved with the insurance business? What did it fall into your lap? Were you drawing pictures as a kid? This is what the direction you wanted to go, or what?
So I think that I'll resonate with the whole industry in saying that no one really plans on getting into insurance. No one really wakes up one day and says, and then they say, I want to be an insurance agent, or I want to be an adjuster or an underwriter.
Yeah.
The joke in the business is that you end up in it on accident. And as of right now, I have not met anyone who can top my story as to how I got into business.
All right, so tell your story there.
Let's hear it.
A little cocky, right?
Yeah.
A little like Rooster. I don't know. What's the deal is here?
It's the mustache.
That's just how it is. I mean, plain and simple. Haven't had someone tell me a more accidental story. So I was going to UTSA. I graduated peak of the pandemic, August 2020. Lived in a house with some buddies. Went to go look at a 3-bedroom with those buddies. Actually was about to get into a 1-bed. I was set to go work for an AC company here in San Antonio to learn the business, to go work for my dad in Corpus, working with his AC company. Decided I wanted to stay in San Antonio, work for a bigger company, learn how a bigger player does it in a market like San Antonio. And I ended up going and moving into this 3-bedroom apartment with some buddies. And I set up a renter's policy with a farmer's agent, and took care of me in probably about 20 minutes over the phone, got my policy issued. And at the end of it, he asked me if I had any questions. I told him, yeah, actually, what's your job? I want to apply for it. I like what you're doing. I think I'd do good at it. He said he was an agency owner for an agency that was downtown, and that he could use some staff. Or I actually asked him, are you hiring? And he said, yes, I could use some staff. And that was a Tuesday. I interviewed Friday, and I started Monday. The rest is history. And then that first week working there at that agency, I realized that this is what I want to do. I'd love to be on the agency side of things, have it be personal or commercial. Managing a book of business seemed very appealing.
So what is it that you love about it that much? What really kind of fires you up there?
So on the day-to-day aspect, it's the people. You're just helping people out. You're talking to people. You're reassuring them that they are taken care of, whether it be coverage or, billing, whatever it may be, service. Every day you're constantly just working with people. And realistically, with whatever you're doing, it's all people at the end of the day.
Mm-hmm.
But with this, we're talking about a contractual agreement between a policyholder and a carrier. In the midst of all that, if you can bring joy to a person's day, and if you can make it as pleasant and as seamless as possible to them, then that's where I get my value from. That's where I get my joy from doing it. Is just talking to people, making sure that they're taken care of. Now, on the long-term aspect of it, the idea of recurring revenue, that's what hooked me. That's what made me realize the first week, this is what I want to do. I want to have a book of business, and I want to have a good client base, and I want to take good care of them for as long as I'm doing this, which, as it looks right now, will be a good long while. I don't see myself doing anything else.
Now, especially the commercial insurance world, one thing that you don't hear synonymous with that industry is joy.
Yeah, that's true.
Especially right now. So what's an example of you having a great experience with a client in the commercial insurance world?
Sure. So trying to think of like one specific moment, maybe a little tough, but just day to day, like talking to a client about their billing process or their renewal coming up, just asking them how their day was, asking them, about their kids, keeping tabs on who they are and who their family is, and, what they like to do in their personal life. It basically adding that much more of a personal touch to it, to where, I have a good relationship with those people. And so
you're making that connection. It's a connection.
Exactly right. Just like knowing, like your kids are doing this and that, like, how's that going, and stuff like that. Oh, how was your birthday, a couple weeks ago? Stuff like that. Really, ultimately asking them how their day was, what they did last weekend, stuff like that. Just making it as pleasant as possible to people.
That's a customer service oriented heart that you have. And when you couple that with sales, you can be successful in just about anything, because people are hungry for that nowadays. It's like they want to talk to people and do business with people that care about them, or at least show a genuine interest, not a feigned interest, but a genuine interest.
That reminds me of the line of nobody cares what you have to say until they know how much you care. So like being able to have that caring human element to it, that's very powerful.
Definitely.
Well, and especially with recurring, a book of business just becomes that book of relationships. I mean, obviously the numbers, the billing is important, but people want to work with people who they know, like, and trust. And if you've got that relationship with them and you're able to provide an excellent service as well, I mean, that's going to last you forever. So how is the insurance industry going right now for you?
For me, it's going pretty well. I've got my book built up a good amount. Things are good. I'm looking to continue building it here in the next few months. The insurance industry as a whole, though, is actually very hard and taking a big hit right now. A lot of carriers on the personal and the commercial side are getting out of certain areas. Farmers just got out of Florida entirely. Farmers and State Farm just got out of California entirely as well.
I heard about that.
We're in what's called a hard market. It's the first real hard market that we've seen in the last 20 years.
Yeah, but
actually,
it's hard for California because California is screwy. You know what I mean? They got bad policies, bad government over there, so they make it difficult for people to do business there.
they've also got
That's not a Texas problem. That's a California problem.
they've also got forest fires too. That's an indicator.
Well, I've
That's like
seen
the
something-
thing.
But that's a policy issue. They don't clean out their underbrush, so they're just asking for it, right? And that's my opinion. I was born in California, so I care about California. Love, beautiful state, but their taxation is crazy, and they don't take care of their forests.
It is a little screwy. You're right. Definitely.
That's my opinion.
Well, if it's a hard market, and I mean, I don't even think that's an if. It is a hard market. So what are things that people should be looking out for? Because it sounds like having that relationship with your insurance adjuster is important. Why is that important?
So
Or not your adjuster, but
your agent,
Yeah,
right?
agent.
Well, it's good to have a good relationship with an agent just so that you're up to date with what's going on and so that you know exactly, what to keep an eye out for, things to take greater precaution towards. But just to give an idea as to what's happening right now, commercial auto and commercial property are heavily hit right now. Commercial property, we're seeing renewals anywhere from 50 to 80 to 100, 120% premium increases year over year.
Wow.
Carriers got hit really, really hard last year, and they're playing catch up. People think insurance is a scam and that these carriers are just rolling in cash. That is not the case. You give a carrier 1 year, in addition to bad decisions by leadership to go into a certain region, to get extremely aggressive towards a certain line of business in a certain industry, that could turn the carrier belly up very easily, surprisingly, actually. But that's the case pretty much. And carriers, there's a fine line that they ride between profitable and not profitable. And so commercial auto and commercial property have really, really hit carriers very hard this last year. It's not like I feel sorry for them or anything. I'm just saying, like, it was their decision to get aggressive in certain areas and do certain things. But yeah, like State Farm, for example, took a $13.6 billion underwriting loss last year. And that's across everything that they're doing. And so commercial property, cost of materials, inflation, cost to rebuild, that's gone through the roof. Labor is hard to find. It's just been very hard. And then also, like, natural catastrophes have been increased a lot recently. We've seen a lot more fires, a lot more, crazy weather patterns. I mean, we just had the hottest day ever recorded a few weeks ago, if I'm not mistaken.
we were hotter than 98% of the planet. San Antonio, I think it was the Sahara Desert, and like one other area that I can't remember.
Somewhere in
those
Arizona.
3 places were hotter than 98% of the planet.
Well, it was 72 degrees in my house, so I'm good.
Yeah, right.
I'm
That's
not
what matters.
complaining.
Mark got that CPS notification and was like, ignore 72.
The other thing I want to touch on with commercial auto, I'm sure that we've seen the fours, Texas Lawhammer, Thomas J. Henry, to name a few, all advertised everywhere left and right. All these billboards going up and down 10, 1604. You just see them. I mean, there's a market for it, and they are killing it right now doing what they're doing. But you ever hear like, oh, have you been hit by a company truck or vehicle? It's because they want to tap into that $1 million combined single limit commercial auto policy. That's where the money is. They're not suing the business itself. They're suing the insurance carrier that covered them. And so commercial auto, you're seeing, really expensive auto insurance where 85% of that premium's coming from the liability limit only, not the comp and collision, the damage to a vehicle. It's the liability is what's most expensive. And so that's why people are paying more than they've ever paid right now on commercial insurance, auto insurance. is because litigation's through the roof. The social atmosphere right now and for litigation is just crazy high. Like for example, we've seen now these things called pop up called third-party litigation funds. These are funds designed to go out and support and fund cases that wouldn't otherwise have the good, serious financial backing and legal backing like some, claimants would be able to have. But basically, third-party litigation funds go in to fund a case to win it, to then not only pay out to a claimant or a plaintiff, but to their shareholders, their investors that are funding the litigation. And so you can look at it both ways. It's like, oh, these people that were underrepresented and underfunded now have that representation and that funding. But then on the other hand, you've got these people that are literally just litigation-hungry sharks going after money in the name of cashing into commercial auto limits and liability limits and stuff. It's kind of sadistic. You can look at it both ways.
Sure.
Me, I'm on this side where I think it's a little bit far out there that something like that exists. But
so, unfortunately, as an agent, there's no way for you to, the world is litigious as it goes, so we can't really control insurance costs. That's just kind of a bigger picture. But does having a dedicated, knowledgeable agent affect the ability to get a payout from your insurance?
By all means, actually. So that's more of on a, not even a litigation side, but like an insured filing a claim on something where they need to be made whole again. It's like they took the loss. They didn't cause the loss. They took one.
Like lightning hit the roof of a commercial building that they own.
Exactly. We've had instances, I've not personally been able to do this, but my colleagues, my mentors that have been in the business 20, 40 years, it's almost like they have an insurance policy sitting on their nightstand, and it's like their bedtime reading. They know these forms and coverages so well. They've had claims denied, and then they've been able to go back to the carrier and say, no, look at, Section A, Part B, semicolon here on this policy. From what this language reads, this should be covered. And they've had many claims reversed and covered and paid out because of the knowledge that those agents have. And so I'm getting there, waiting for the right opportunity to be able to do something similar. But
and it sounds like you've got the mentorship. So if you're not able to figure it out, you've got that knowledge back so that next time you will know what's going to happen. And that's huge, having that mentorship.
I do have a story similar to something along these lines. I wrote the insurance for a roofer not too long ago, or actually a while ago, probably over a year now. And whenever we provided it for him, first year in business, first time buying insurance, there's an exclusion in the policy for roofers specifically that reads, if you are to not act in a reasonable way in this event, in this circumstance, we will not cover you. And it's talking specifically about if you've got an open roof and rain comes in, you got to tarp that thing up and you got to tie it down as soon as possible. And if you don't, it's denied. It's language that reads in the policy. And setting up this policy for him, we were able to thankfully, allow him to digest that and to tell him very strongly, you need to keep this in mind. If you're doing it, you got an open roof and there's nasty weather rolling around, you got to be able to tarp that thing up and tie it down. And the same exact thing happened where they were working on a roof. They weren't aware of the weather that was rolling in. And then before they knew it, monsoon popped up practically. And so they tarped that thing up, they tied it down. But unfortunately, the homeowner still incurred some damage and stuff in their drywall. Turned out to be like $12,000 in damages. He called me, said he was looking to file a claim. And again, I told him, hey, whenever you get on the phone with this claims representative and then ultimately an adjuster, you need to be very, very clear that you acted in this way. I know you did. You told me you did, but you need to make sure that they understand that because this is a key part of your coverage and that you won't get paid out unless you acted in this way. And the claim was resolved within 30 days and they paid it out. And so that was my moment where I was able to advise them properly. That's why it's good to have an agent on your side.
So it sounds like you can't control the insurance costs, but you can control who helps you get it. And that's important. So if people want to get a hold of you, how can they do that?
I am on LinkedIn. I have my email, my phone number. My email is ted.henderson@relationinsurance.com. My phone number is 210-851-8148. And then also, reach out to me on any platform that you find me on. Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn.
Where do you spend the most time?
Physically?
No, I mean like.
Or like online?
Let's not make this weird. So, where's your online presence? Where is it the biggest?
Most consistently LinkedIn. You know, I'm on Instagram and Facebook socially. I don't really post a whole lot of stuff there. I've got the quarterly, semi-annually Instagram post, and then the annual to biannual Facebook post to update family and friends from back home.
And if you want to work on your golf swing, he's got a TikTok.
That's right. Yeah, I post. So my TikTok, that's a library for myself. I do not post that for other people. I do get some likes and comments here and there, but that is for me to reference my swing and my progression over the last 2 years since I started golfing. But consistently, from an insurance standpoint, LinkedIn is my main stomping grounds. And I don't post consistently on there. I'm posting every few weeks to every month and a half. I have as of right now, at least, my observation and my whole thing is quality over quantity. And so I'm not really posting every single week, every 2 weeks on the dot. It's just whenever something interesting comes up that I can post on, I will. And I'm going to post something that's going to get a lot of attention and it's going to really hook readers and get their attention that way. And so
that's how it's supposed to work.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks, Ted. I appreciate you coming in, man.
Of course.